That's not a cashier or a fry cook. It's a private security guard at a fast food restaurant. Not a jewelry store, not a courthouse or a nightclub at closing time. A place selling fries, burgers, soda, and kids' meals. And for some reason, there's a guard posted near the door like something might pop off before your mobile order is ready. Let that simmer a bit. Fast food used to mean bad service, wrong orders, and maybe Karen asking to speak to a manager. Now in some places, it means locked doors, security guards, fights, viral clips, and workers calling 911. So what happened here? Why does a burger place need security like this? Oakland didn't invent this problem. It just makes it easier to see. At one Oakland McDonald's, a worker said she was attacked after telling a drive-thru customer he needed a mask to be served. At another Oakland McDonald's, The Guardian reported that a security guard tried pepper spraying a customer, but the spray didn't stay neatly on the customer. Workers and people inside started coughing, backing away, and clearing out. That's the issue. A fast food restaurant is not built like a jail intake room. It's tight, it's crowded. Workers are behind the counter. Customers are filming. Kids might be standing right there. So when security gets dropped into that environment, every decision gets messy fast. One bad customer can turn the whole lobby into an incident scene. And this isn't just Oakland. In North Hollywood, Carl's Jr. workers protested after filing complaints about violent customers, robberies, physical assaults, people throwing drinks, and one man allegedly running into the kitchen, threatening workers with a frying pan and punching an employee in the face. In Brooklyn, one McDonald's started checking IDs and blocking people under 20 unless they had a parent or proper identification after repeated problems with rowdy teens, including an attack on a security guard. That sounds ridiculous until you think about what it really means. A McDonald's started acting like a nightclub door, not because the food got fancy, because the dining room became hard to control. That is the new pattern. The fast food counter, the gas station, the pharmacy, the corner store, normal places are becoming security posts. The numbers back up what workers have been saying. A Fight for 15 backed analysis found around 77,000 violent or threatening incidents connected to McDonald's, Burger King, Carl's Jr., and Jack in the Box locations in California's 9 largest cities between 2017 and 2020. That includes threats, assaults, customer conflicts, and other incidents serious enough to show up in 911 call records. And Nation's Restaurant News reported years ago that late-night restaurant work carries its own risk, with BLS data showing most on-the-job violence cases in one study happen between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. So no, this isn't just an internet phenomenon. Fast food has always had problems. Dirty kitchens, bad inspections, rough customers, late-night robberies. But now the risk isn't hidden in the back. It's standing right in the lobby. And then there's Waffle House, which almost feels like cheating. Waffle House fights are their own internet genre. Half the time, the cook looks like the bouncer, the cashier looks like backup, and the customers look like they walked into neutral territory with no peace treaty. So no, a fight at Waffle House does not feel as visually weird as a security guard posted inside a McDonald's. A guard at McDonald's makes people stop and ask, wait, why is there security here? A fight at Waffle House makes people say, yeah, that sounds about right. But that's exactly why it belongs here. Because even at the chain famous for employees personally handing out cold knuckle sandwiches like hors d'oeuvres, the same question keeps coming back. Who is actually supposed to deal with the violence? The staff, the police, private security, or some underpaid guard standing between pancakes and a felony? And there are real examples of that pressure boiling over. A lawsuit out of Nashville alleged that a Waffle House security guard zip-tied a 62-year-old customer, used bear spray, and shocked him with a stun gun after an argument inside the restaurant. Workers and labor groups have also pushed for stronger security after violent Waffle House incidents, arguing that cameras and to-go windows are not enough to keep employees safe. That's the part people miss. The fight clips are funny until you remember somebody is working that shift. Somebody has to call 911. Somebody has to write the report. Somebody has to decide whether to step in. And if that person is security, suddenly it's not just a viral clip anymore. It's force, liability, training, wages, and a company deciding whether to stand behind the worker or disappear when the lawsuit hits. And if you're trying to get into security or move move up. This is exactly why real-world judgment matters. The basic class does not teach you how fast a normal post can turn into a report, a lawsuit, or a viral clip. That's what my Guard Guides resources and Etsy tools are built for. Real situations, real decision-making, no fluff. Links are in the description. Every time one of these clips goes viral, opinions are split in half. One side says, "Good, finally somebody did something." The other side says, "There is no way that guard is paid enough to catch a case for giving somebody a 3-piece and a biscuit." And both sides have a point. Because yes, some customers walk into these places and act completely insane. They threaten workers, they jump counters, they throw drinks, they refuse to leave. They turn a normal shift into chaos. But guards know the other side. Once you go hands-on, you own that decision. Even if the customer started it, even if the manager begged you to do something, now it's use of force. Now it's liability. Now it's a possible lawsuit, firing, injury, or criminal complaint. And the company can always say, "We never told him to do that." That's the trap. The guard is there to make the restaurant feel controlled. But the moment something actually happens, the job gets very real. Watch the door. Keep the lobby calm. Protect the workers. Don't scare the customers. Don't touch anybody unless you have to. Don't let anyone get hurt. Don't let the restaurant get sued. Don't let the video make the company look bad. And somehow, solve all of that in real time while somebody is screaming over a wrong order. That's not observe and report in the normal way we know of it. That's crisis work. Part customer service, part loss prevention, part mental health response, part bouncer, part human shield. And the industry still wants to pay and train people like they're just furniture standing near the soda machine. Here's where the business model comes in. Clients like McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC want security, but they usually want the cheapest version that still looks like protection. Security companies want the account, but they need their margin. So the client squeezes the contractor squeezes the guard, and the guard absorbs the risk. Low pay, thin training, high turnover, maximum exposure. That is not sustainability. That is cost shifting. The danger doesn't disappear, it just moves downward until it lands on the person in the uniform. That's why California's SB 1203 matters. On paper, it's about training, paid training time, use of force standards, de-escalation, and raising conditions for guards. But underneath that, it's about power. Who controls the training? Who pays for it? And who profits when onboarding stays cheap and fast? The contractor side hates it, and their argument is not fake. Calsaga says SB 1203 would raise costs, disrupt hiring, create new compliance burdens, and push some clients toward automation. They might be right about the cost. Training costs money. Higher wages cost money. Paid training time costs money. Small businesses do not have unlimited budgets. But here's the blunt part. If the only way the contract works is by keeping the guard cheap, undertrained, and replaceable, then the wage increase is not the problem. The contract is the problem. You cannot ask guards to protect workers, calm violent people, make use of force decisions, prevent lawsuits, and keep the business open, then act like any warm body with a guard card can do it. That contradiction is the industry. Fast food just makes it look absurd. So no, the guard at the fast food door is not the cause of the problem. He is the visible part. He shows up after everyone else made their decisions. The company wanted the location open. The franchise wanted the revenue. The workers wanted to get through the shift safely. The public wanted somebody to do something. The contractor wanted the account, and the guard got placed in the middle. That's why this doesn't stop with Oakland. This is possible at any business or venue where there is disorder, thin staffing, slow response, late night hours, cheap contracts, and people who feel like they're on their own. A burger spot needing private security is not just a funny image, it's a warning. Fast food didn't become a security checkpoint overnight. It happened one fight, one locked door, one 911 call, and one cheap contract at a time. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more guard guides, and be safe.